Communications for the Institute of the Black World, and I'll be the moderator for this evening's National Town Hall meeting, which we have billed as Ferguson and Beyond, an open discussion on the crisis of race relations in America today. On behalf of the Institute of the Black World, sponsor of tonight's event, and our co-sponsors, a continuing talk on race series of Busboys and Poets, and the Institute of Policy Studies, a progressive think tank based here in Washington, D.C., it is my pleasure and honor to extend to you all a warm welcome to this famous D.C. landmark, Busboys and Poets. A unique place that combines good food for the palate with great food for thought. I want to also extend a special welcome to all those in the audience who joined us from a protest earlier today at the Justice Department across town and who marched from Justice to be with us here at Busboys tonight. Special greetings also to those across the country and around the world watching this event live on C-SPAN and on the internet via IBW's webcast, and to those across the D.C. metropolitan region listening to Pacifica Radio's WPFW broadcast, as well as those listening via Sirius Satellite Radio on Brother Mark Thompson's Making It Real program, and also to cable television viewers in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The Institute of the Black World has invited a stellar group of civil and human rights leaders, legal experts, youth activists, grassroots community activists, and religious leaders to be among the panelists and the respondents at this town hall meeting, and I want to welcome them all and thank them for accepting the invitation. Soon you'll hear from them as we move into the discussion and dialogue part of tonight's program, but first I want to bring on a righteous brother and a dear friend who will personally welcome you to his house. He is an artist, an activist, a prominent civic leader in the D.C. area, and on top of all of that,
It's a sad time that we have to come together to do this, but it's also an important time and really a joyful time in many ways. So please, if you could take a moment to just say, I'm not going to talk to you till the end of the program, to your friend standing next to you. Let them know that, please. You'll have plenty of time to reconnect afterwards. We are here till past midnight. You're welcome to last here. So please, if you don't mind, just give us your undivided attention for the next few moments. On behalf of the front of the house staff and the back of the house staff of Busboys and Poets, I'd like to welcome you all to this momentous evening at Ferguson Town Hall. When we opened Busboys and Poets, we had the intention of creating a place where racial and cultural connections are consciously uplifted. And if you've ever wondered what that looks like, this is what it looks like. I want you to turn to the person next to you and give them a hug. All right. We're also a place where art, culture, and politics come together, intentionally collide. And part of this art and culture
freedom cannot rest. No, 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 no. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. This is a freedom
that we are sick and tired throughout the world, not just in Ferguson, but everywhere. But Ferguson is the rallying cry that we've all come around. And I want to thank the people of Ferguson. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Mike Brown. I know that you're all sick and tired of being sick and tired. You're in great company for that. Struggle till we have peace and justice. Because if you don't have justice, there is no way to have peace. And even that he will be the last one, that he will be.
Thank you very much, Brother Andy Shalal. Sisters and questions on the meaning and the implications of Ferguson for African come up with tonight. What are the lessons to be learned from Ferguson? Was Ferguson just another cliched, teachable moment for political change and for social and economic justice for black and brown people in this country? These are some of the questions African-American men killed by white police officers in different parts of the country in recent weeks. A moment of silence, please. May they all rest in peace. Thank you. On Monday, thousands attended Michael Brown's funeral in St. Louis, and millions more mourned his loss across the country and the world. The corporate media tells us that in recent days, life is back to normal. Kids are back in school, implying that the crisis is over. But is this really the case? Many young activists, however, say that Mike Brown's dignified funeral was merely a time to press the pause button on the protests, but that the resistance movement will continue.
First of all, I want to quickly say, because time is limited, that we're in Institute of the Black World 21st Century delighted to have as our Director of Communication, Rojas. We also quickly, again, want to thank Andy Shalal and Busboys and Poets for sponsoring this event, and also to the Open Societies Foundation and the Drug Policy Alliance for the support of the work of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century. The jobs, they disinvested in our communities. Industry left. War on drugs is a war on us, and we must end the war on drugs. And President Obama, our jobs, looted of education. There's been the ravishing of our communities. And then we have been violated by police violence, terror. Simply stop having the Justice Department pay for the tanks and all of this military equipment. Police misconduct. It may not yield a whole lot, but we want to. Next, we need a domestic Marshall Plan. Somebody's got to pay for all the damage that's been done to our. You go in all across this country. I read in the New York Times today, Washington Post, how education is being deprived. Out in Missouri, but in our community. And Obama can take the lead in providing those answers. So those are some of the ideas that we're putting forth. We're sure the panel are going to share many, many others. But the main thing is we have to sustain this movement and say that if there ain't going to be no justice, there certainly is not going to be any peace.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ron Daniels. Sisters and brothers, moving right along, we now want to introduce to you our distinguished panel. They're seated up here next to me on my left, and I'm going to introduce them from left to right, and I'm going to ask each of them to make a very brief, 2 minutes at the most, opening comment on the crisis in Ferguson. You can focus on any aspect of the crisis, and after which I will pose a few questions to each of you. Thank you so much. From my left, we have Brother Hillary Shelton. Hillary Shelton is the director of the Washington office of the NAACP. Please give it up for Brother Shelton. Next to him is Sister Barbara Arnwine. She is the president of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. Give it up for Sister Arnwine. And next to her is Brother Jasiri X. He's a hip-hop artist and activist out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Give it up for Jasiri X. Black Police Association. Justice Matters at the Open Society Foundations. Welcome, Sister Nikichi. All right, so...
Can't hear me. Talk now. Keep talking. Grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I know Ferguson very well. I have systems that are in place that are supposed to be democratic in nature, and very clearly they are not being responsive to the concerns going on there now. You recognize then, even we talk about 67% of the population being African American, but it's not working, and as such, the law enforcement entity that is put in place to, quote, serve and protect is doing neither. It's a community that was 55% African American in the inner city area. But even as such, it got to the point that we did behind.
2 months ago, all over the world, everybody was tweeting and talking about bring back our girls. Now nobody's talking about it. The issue for us is having stood here repeatedly, year after year, burying our children, burying our older people, killed by police. The question is, as Reverend Year would say, can we move from the moment to a movement? Can we do what's necessary to make this our life's work? That is the challenge for us. And what I want to really point out is that there are here this statement, the unity statement of black organizations on what we can do to make sure that we don't see this again. There are things that can be done, my brothers and sisters, and we need to look at those. For example, in D.C., right here, do we require body-worn cameras? Do we require dash cams on every police vehicle? Do we require reports of everybody who complains of excessive force and that's delivered to the public? These are issues that we can control. We must make sure that no federal dollar goes to anybody. And my last point, without having these requirements, and my last point is that I'm here because I want to say one thing. The sisters, the black women are also being killed. Don't miss that. Don't miss that. Black women, a black woman was shot just the other day. We don't see these bodies. We don't treasure these bodies. Black women, black girls must understand that we can't heal half a community. We must heal the entire community and save all our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Irwine. Brother Jaziri X.
Check. Okay. All right, I'm up. I want to start by saying that, thank to Institute of the Black World and for everybody to come in. What happened in Ferguson is a result of the actions of an officer named Darren Wilson. He was the one who saw a young man in the street, and if the audio on CNN that just released is correct, shot his gun 6 times, paused, and then shot 5 more times, shooting Michael Brown at least 6 times, twice in the head, which was consistent with what the witnesses were saying, that he was shot 10 times. Then when the community attempts to have a peaceful vigil, the police roll up with an army, a military army, and begin agitating the community. I mean, because I keep hearing people saying the protesters need to be peaceful, the protests need to be peaceful. Somebody needs to tell the police to be peaceful. It's the police that's breaking the peace. And I'm saying I just came back from Ferguson. I was on the strip, West Florissant, myself, David Banner, and some other folks, and we was having a conversation with the young brother, and like you said, it was peace. It was like a family reunion. It was a Saturday night, it was hot outside, everybody was out, people were playing music, food was being given away, and for no reason at all, 15 police officers come from my left side, 15 to my right side, arrested 2 of the young men we were talking to for absolutely no reason. And I went up to Captain Johnson, who was different than the one you see in the media. He wasn't smiling and laughing and joking and leading no marches that night. He was surrounded by hundreds of officers. And I asked him why they arrested these men for doing nothing. And he told me, I don't have to talk to you, you're not from here. This is what's happening on the ground, you know what I'm saying? But and the last thing I want to say is, despite all this, there are young leaders that have came up They are highly sophisticated. They are intelligent. They are organized. They have formed a coalition called Hands Up. Yes, give it up for them. Because if it was not for them, there would have been a lot more destruction that you would see. But they united under a name called Hands Up United. You can go to handsupunited.org. You can see their list of demands. You can donate to different things. And so I would encourage you, go to handsupunited.org and support these young leaders that are trying their best to keep resisting despite a heavy military police presence.
Thank you very much, Brother Joseph X. Brother Ron Hampton.
Well, first of all, let me say good evening to everyone and thank. Keep talking. Okay. All right. He said keep talking. I'd like to. My comments are going to be in the nature of putting this in some context. We cannot look at the Michael Brown killing as a single incident in time. It is a continuation of the assault and attack on black men and women and the black community. Just for a little history, the militarization of policing started after Vietnam. Police departments received military equipment after Vietnam, after Desert Storm, and as we see now, Iraq and Afghanistan. And that equipment is being used in the war on drugs, the war on black people in the community. Black men and women on police department is not the only answer. We're not, you can add 6 more police officers or 20 more police officers in Ferguson, but if we don't begin to address the systemic issues around the culture, policies, and practices in the police department, they will continue to be brutal as a police officer. Dr. Daniels talked about community policing. Community policing is results. If community policing results is real, then it must work for us. If not, we must find the strategies that's going to work for black people in the black community. We talk an awful lot about community policing, but we haven't seen the benefits of community policing in our community. The kind of arrests that's been taking place in New York and all over the country as a result of walking while black, riding while black, marijuana, other drug arrests is not the result of community policing. If we're going to have community policing in our community, then it must be real community policing, and we need to be involved in that thing, in that process. We also must begin to replace the policies and practices with those policies and practices that, again, are going to work for our community. I want to add my voice to the recommendations. We must end the war on drugs. There's been a war on black people. We must end mass incarceration in our communities. We must have more jobs for our people, calling for a summit on race in the criminal justice system. We cannot have a beer bust in the backyard and think that that's going to solve our problems when it comes to race and policing. And then calling for a study of our criminal justice system. Yeah, Ron, we haven't had one in over 30 years. And it's time to have a thorough evaluation and analysis of the criminal justice system in our country because it's not working for us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ron Hampton. Sister Nikichi.
I saw a photograph on social media recently of a lynching juxtaposed with the lifeless body of Michael Brown, who was laying in the street for hours. You see, when an enslaved person was hung, the lynchers would leave the body in the open for hours to do what? To instill fear in the hearts of other enslaved. It was terrorism then, and I submit it is terrorism now. It is one thing for people to be murdered, but even more egregious for the perpetrators to be those who wear badges and have been sworn to uphold the law. Victims of law enforcement abuse, such as Amadou Diallo, Sean Bell, Oscar Grant, Johnny Gamage, David Garner, all of them, they're crying out from the grave for justice. And as we now grieve for young Michael Brown, let us vow that this time that our outrage not just be for a moment, which will dissipate with time, but for a movement for justice that will seize the time. And this is a movement that must, in addition to the critical demands that the civil rights organizations have made, that it must also up the ante and internationalize the struggle. For example, the United Nations Code of Conduct for law enforcement officials and the basic principles on the use of firearms requires that law enforcement use force and firearms only as a last resort, okay, and that the amount of force must be proportionate to the threat. What about the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination? What about the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights? What about the International Convention on Torture? What about the International Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide? We are in a revolutionary moment right now, and it is incumbent upon all of us to seize it by building a focused justice movement. We must raise the ante and have the audacity to advance creative solutions to break the criminal punishment system once and for all, and to fashion new systems of justice based on prevention rather than punishment, compassion rather than criminalization. And I submit in closing that we need a new narrative that boldly embraces a human rights model so that justice does not become just us. We need innovative people that are not afraid to think out of the box and to push the envelope for change. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sister Nkechi. Give it up for all the panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Sisters and brothers, one other panelist, Brother Keenan Keller, who is the senior counsel on the Democratic side at the House Judiciary Committee, has been held up. He's been traveling, just got back into the city, and is trying to make his way here this evening, so he may show up. Also, Brother Danny Glover is currently on a film shoot in Utah, and he is a little bit delayed. He's in the middle of filming a scene as we speak, but he has promised to call in at around 7:30, so stand by for that. We hope to bring him in very shortly. A couple of housekeeping matters before we move into our dialogue session. There are yellow cards being circulated by IBW volunteers around the tables. Please fill them out, and the volunteers will come and pick them up before the end of the program. We also are encouraging folks to tweet live this event. The hashtag is IBW Hands Up. That's the hashtag, so go ahead and tweet while the program moves along. Of all the complex and interconnected issues and questions exposed by the crisis in Ferguson, issues of race and class, of poverty, systemic social and economic inequality, none is more central than the issue of policing. More specifically, police misconduct in black and brown communities across the country. We do have a former police officer on our panel, Brother Ron Hampton. I'm going to ask him the first question. Ron, you did mention earlier about community policing. It's been a buzzword for a number of years, but recently it's been sort of on the back burner. What aspects of community policing would guarantee a greater degree of accountability and transparency in America's police departments?
Well, the answer to the question is that accountability and transparency has to take place even before crises take place, because those are the kind of ingredients that will avert a crisis. I usually, there's a former police commissioner in the city of Baltimore. His name was Thomas Frazier. And we've struggled with community policing nationally for some time now. But Commissioner Frazier had a concept that he said worked for him when he was in Baltimore. And the concept was that he believed in the development of community capital, because he said police-citizen relationships was like married individuals. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. And that's the way relationships is in our communities. But he said when you develop and create capital, then sometimes when things aren't that good, you can call on the community that assists to be with you until you get information to them or some additional kind of thing. But if you wait until the incident to happen, then that's too late. And there was an example in St. Louis, less than 3 miles away from it, when Mr. Powell was shot and killed, brandishing a knife when 2 police officers came up on the scene. Now, quite frankly, I'm not satisfied with the answer, but at least the police chief came out on the scene. They had also been able to obtain the video that was taken by a witness, and then he released information on the scene, and we didn't have an incident. I submit to you that the reason we didn't have an incident was because of the transparency and the information that was given to people on the scene. But the other thing that needs to happen is that you can't wait till the crisis in order to get it done. So you got to develop the crisis. As I was talking about community policing, generally in our community, we haven't had that experience with the police where trust and confidence is an everyday kind of thing. They come talk to us about turning in our brothers and sisters, but they aren't talking to us about developing the relationship and the public safety policies and practices that we need to have in our community. You will continue to have crises if we don't have it. That's why I'm at the stage of saying that if that model of community policing isn't working for us, let's find one that's going to work for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Brother Jaziri X, you talked about Officer Darren Wilson. There are probably thousands of Darren Wilsons in police forces across the country. Racist, trigger-happy cops infused with the sickness of white supremacy, unfortunately. Some have said that Darren Wilson will probably not be indicted, given the peculiarities of Missouri's justice system and given the pro-cop history of the prosecutor, the County of St. Louis prosecutor. I want to have Jaziri respond to that, but also I'm going to ask this question to the 2 attorneys on the panel, Sister Arnwine and Sister Nkichi. What are the possibilities, realistic possibilities, for Darren Wilson to be indicted and brought to trial for murder?
Well, I'll start. In 2012, I made a song called Do We Need to Start a Riot? And I made that song because of a report that the Malcolm X grassroots movement did, that in 2012, 313 black people were killed by the police, security guards, or people like George Zimmerman, which amounted to 1 every 28 hours. And ultimately, when I asked the question, do we need to start a riot, I'm really asking, what do we have to do to get justice? That if we are continually shot down and no one is to blame, then what do you think will eventually happen if this is something that happens over and over and over again? So, you know, Ferguson is simmering right now, but so is New York City, so is Chicago, Illinois, so is LA, and so is DC. So if I was them, I would be very careful. Zimmerman was found not guilty. Michael Dunn was found guilty of attempted murder, but not in the murder of Jordan Davis, the person that he shot and killed. And now if Darren Wilson is not indicted, what do you want us to do? Because if you're not going to give us justice, then we have to ask, are we wrong if we then take justice in our own hands?
All right now. All right now. So the legal questions, 2 things. It's very clear that McCullough, the prosecuting attorney in St. Louis, isn't about 0. We should not be expecting much. He's already started off in a horrible way by saying that he's going to have the officer testify before the grand jury. That's almost unheard of, people. This is a very unusual thing. We also have been watching the police force do everything in their power to uphold this gentleman, this officer, by saying that he was, quote, being bum rushed by Mr. Michael Brown when he's being shot at repeatedly, ridiculous accusations, but we are knowing that a lot of that is coming from the police department and from the police union. So I am not expecting much of the state. The question is, what is the Department of Justice going to do? Because they have the authority to bring civil rights charges. If they're going to do it, they can't drag their feet. Remember, this administration goes out in 2016. They will be over in December of 2016. So it is imperative that if we're going to have a prosecution, that charges are brought right now, as early and as soon as possible. All the elements that are required are there. The question of intent is the one that will be the hardest that they will have to deal with. But still, you can infer intent. And this is going to be a great case. It's a case that is worth the Department of Justice pursuing. We don't want to be sitting here a year from now like we are with Zimmerman saying, what happened? We got to keep the pressure up, my brothers and sisters. We got to demand a prosecution. We got to demand that this man be brought to justice. We cannot expect anybody to pursue justice here if we don't make it happen through our actions. Thank you.
And let me just add on to what my sister said, because the Department of Justice does have a high bar. There is that hurdle of intent, that same hurdle that has stymied us time after time after time after time after time. And that's why I keep harping on the need to not limit ourselves within the confines of the U.S. jurisdictional law. We need to up the ante. The CERD, the International Racial Convention treaty, you can circumvent intent if you can show discriminatory impact. There's no question in terms of discriminatory impact, but it's not within U.S. law to be able to use that, even though the U.S. Senate has ratified that treatment. However, we do need to be creative. There is the 9th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which states that the provisions of this Constitution shall not be denied or disparaged. It's a gateway to international.
Of which Ferguson is a part. Here's the challenge we have right now. What we're seeing is a classic move towards suppression. That is, if you look at all the moves that were taken, when you start
draw the parallels between
in the inner
shirt on. When I went to West Florissant with David Banner, the people were so happy to see him, because not only, Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson to come down, we wanted you to come down because of how he was representing that community. So it's been a lot of, but then there's also been quiet or silence from some of the biggest hip-hop artists. They don't say anything. And I say this to say, as consumers, we need to be mindful of that. And we need to hold these artists accountable if you're not going to support us.
Danny, get on the line here. Hello, Danny, can you hear us? Yeah, hello. Danny, hold on, go ahead. Let's see, how can we do this? This is up to the max. Yeah. All right, try 1 second, please. We're going to try to solve this technical problem. Sisters and brothers, to call into the town hall meeting. We're going to try to hook him up through the system. In the meantime, why don't we do another couple of housekeeping matters. The yellow card, sisters and brothers,
have to sustain through various levels of force in that Senate. And I use it to sustain as a history of control. And here we are right now at this particular moment. And this is, understand, we are all those men, young people, who have no tolerance in terms of their lives. The Black Panther Party for self-defense grew out and was organized around issues around community control. A young man, Fred Hampton, murdered by Chicago police after being drugged in bed, murdered in its neoliberal paradigm, which chooses to not only put the resources to educate and employ our young men, but put the
of his work schedule in Utah on the set. All right, Danny, thank you so much, brother. All the best. All right, so we were in the middle of recognizing some of the community leaders who have joined us this evening. I'd like to recognize Minister Abdul Qadir Mohammed of the Nation of Islam. See you around. Brother Courtney Stewart from the Reentry Network for Returning Citizens. Brother Tyrone Parker of the Alliance of Concerned Men. Nana Dr. Pat Newton of the Black Psychiatrists of America. Brother Malik Burnett of the Drug Policy Alliance. Brother Leighton Watson from the Howard University Student Association. Sister Dr. Marsha Coleman Adebayo of the No Fair Coalition. We also have Carol Schwartz, a candidate for mayor of D.C. And we have several members of the Color of Change organization in the House, and they've asked me to make this very important announcement that tomorrow at 5 p.m., Color of Change and their allies will deliver nearly 900,000 petition signatures demanding justice for Michael Brown. They are calling on President Obama to define his legacy by putting policies in place aimed at ending racial profiling in front of the White House, of course. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on the side of the White House, adjacent to Lafayette Square. Reverend Dr. John Mendez and Reverend John Brelis of the... I'm going to wrap things up here with sort of final wrap-up statements from each of the panelists. So I'm going to start from the opposite direction this time.
To the prosecution and punishment of that crime by prosecutors and the judges that individuals in like call for. And I want to particularly point out the use of cameras, body cam cameras.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank the Institute of the Black World also. In every movement, I think there should be involved in a project.
For the CBS, your concluding remarks.
you know, this is a conversation we've had a lot, Mr. Daniels, about the intergenerational divide out there was maybe the worst that I've ever seen. And one of the issues that the young people have with the elders is when nighttime came and they had to face off against tanks and tear gas and snipers, the elders left. The elders weren't there. And what was there was basically 20-year-olds and younger, most of them teenagers. And so they felt abandoned by the elder leadership there. Those Ferguson right there. And so they need to hear, and then they turn on the TV and they constantly hear themselves being diminished to the role of rioters and looters, like my sister spoke to. So they need to hear what you spoke on today, Ron Daniels. They need to hear these panelists that upheld them as the courageous leaders that they are. And then they need to hear you challenge these other elders, you know what I'm saying, that are constantly devaluing the resistance struggle that they showed us. Secondly, let's support these young leaders. There are young leaders on the ground. Like I said, they're united. You can go to handsupunited.org. There's other national youth-driven organizations on the ground, like the Dream Defenders, like Black Youth Project. Let's support these. They need lawyers. They need medic. They need resources. They need money. Some of the young leaders, they quit their jobs. They quit their jobs. One day.
A couple of things, my brothers and sisters. A couple of things. First of all, again, vote. You should be on the phone calling every single person you know in every state you know, making sure they vote on November 4th. In Ferguson, 12% voter turnout. Ferguson, 67% black, one black city councilor. Mayor white, come out, his city has no racial problem. Schools that are economic power, fight back, so it's very important. The second thing is, I saw that special that many people saw last night with to Leslie McFadden, my pledge to Michael Brown Sr., my pledge, the same pledge I made to Sabrina Fulton, the same pledge I made to Judy Macbeth. When the cameras are gone, when people aren't seeking interviews, I will be there. I will have the back of the black people who have been shot in Ferguson who are in jail. I will have the back of the people who are calling my line and burning it up for legal representation. I will have their back because this is not about them, it's about us. My heart can't sleep as long as these injustices are taking place. So, next month, the trial starts of Dante Servin. People know who he is. He's the police officer who shot and killed Akiva Boyd in Chicago. His sister, who was innocent, sitting in her car, and he shot and killed. These are the people who we got to be there for. Let's not forget every community where there's a need that we lift up the struggle, that we are their voices, and that we're making a change. I know I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you very much. Rojas, Dan, thank you for bringing us all together today to have the kind of conversation we got to have as well. Let me just say that it is clearly time for a new paradigm. A time for a new paradigm. It's the new realities and new expectations that we have under the circumstances we're living. The challenge is we've been able to go through a process and describe all these victims of gun violence at the hands of police officers. All these victims of death, but yet we keep coming back and having the same conversation over and over again. I remember having the conversation about Amadou Diallo, an African standing in the vestibule of his apartment building in New York City. Over 40 police shots, hit over 20 times. The only thing he had in his hands was his car keys. It's time for a new paradigm. As we talking about what has happened to Michael Brown, new paradigm must be new set of expectations and new rules of engagement. What that means is we must change the law from the bottom up at the local community. And talk about how we screen, or in these cases, do not screen those who would be police officers on our streets. We have too many cowboys and police guns and police cruisers. We need to make sure we have the protection place. We must have very well video cameras in every step. Yes, there's a video camera for a gun called a gun cam. From the time you take the gun out of your holster, beginning within 7 seconds, it begins recording everything in front of your gun. We need police gun cams. We need body cams. We want to make sure as you're moving throughout, we see what you're doing. If you are an official representative of the United States or your local community, you have rights that other people don't have, including the right to kill. We have to make sure those rights are being observed, and very well we have to monitor what you're doing. We need body cams. We need dash cams. The cams on police cruisers, when the car pulls up, you see what's happening in front. We have to continue to monitor police from that side as well. Every local community needs a police accountability review board with the kind of power and independence that can pay for the investigation. We have to make sure when the police accountability review board finds that there's a problem, they don't go to the police captain to ask permission to move forward, but can actually convene a grand jury, which criminal charges can be brought with the police accountability review boards with real power in D.C. and Ferguson and every place else across the country. We have to pass. We have to pass the End Racial Profiling Act to make sure that it's very clear what racial profiling is, that it is illegal, and if you utilize this strategy, you will be punished and kicked off your police department. We need to make sure we pass the End Racial Profiling Act. We have to make sure we're very clear on what the acceptable use of force is in the apprehension of a criminal. We have a bill now pending called the Law Enforcement Trust and Integrity Act. What it does is set the standard. It says not only what is legal, but what is illegal for police to do in these cases. And we have to have everyone and hold everyone accountable. And finally, the issue was raised about the number of people that have been killed at the hands of law enforcement officials and how there is no central manner in which we collect that data. That has to end. We know the strategy is and the reality is in order to manage a problem, you must first measure. In order to manage a problem, you must first measure. A police officer kills someone or anyone working in an official law enforcement capacity, that data must be collected. The Death in Custody Act passed the U.S. House of Representatives at the leadership of Congressman Bobby Scott and is now pending before the U.S. Senate. We must pass that bill before the U.S. Senate. We must not allow the Congress to go home until we have the most basic of tools to collect the data. And finally, there are 2 websites I want you to go and take a look at in addition to one of the sites being shared. One of them is the NAACP's website, and this is going to be hard to remember, but the website address, naacp.org. naacp.org. Make sure all that data is, and finally, here locally, there's a great process going on now being led by Patrice Salt. It's a process in which we're trying to collect the data real here and close to home at www.dcpoliceproject.com. www.dcpoliceproject.com. You can begin to collect that data, give you your name and these issues, and making sure as these issues move forward, not only do you show up at programs like this, but you engage every step of the process. Politics, process, procedure, determine who is what, when, where, and how was always to be driven by us. It is not a spectator sport. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. And then we have the NAACP, Director of NAACP's Washington Bureau. Sisters and brothers, let's give a warm applause to thank our panelists for a wonderful presentation. When we at the Institute of the Black World decided to put this forum together, we wanted to make it truly a town hall meeting and give an opportunity for not only these panelists but for other voices to be heard. And so we are asking several special guests to come forward and make very crisp, succinct remarks. 1 minute. Because because time is moving on. In response to what they heard this evening from the panelists, and I'm going to call first on young man Brother Leighton Watson, who is the Howard University, representing Howard University Student Association. If you can come up to this standing microphone, make your comment, very quick.
Good evening. My name is Leighton Watson. I'm a student body president at Howard University. And I want to make one thing very clear. If you couldn't tell by the hands up picture, if you couldn't tell by the video that we hosted, and if you can't tell by this Friday when Howard is going down to Ferguson with 50 Howard University students to do voter registration, Howard University stands by Michael Brown, and Howard University stands by the city of Ferguson. That's very clear. The second thing I want to say is I'm very impressed, but I'm not surprised at the number of great ideas that came from this panel. I want everybody to clap that up. That's impressive. But my thing is, the discussion is one portion, but I think we have to have a second part to this discussion, which is where we talk about how to merge our individual efforts into one collective effort. That's the second part. I know as students, what we're doing is we're hosting the HBCU conference on September 17th through the 21st, where we invited all 106 HBCUs in our university's campus. And there we're actually going to have students do sessions and then go to Capitol Hill to lobby on voter registration, voting rights, and this conference. The one thing that I think about every time that we go through this is that the enemy, they're counting on the fact that we can't take the next step. That's right. They're counting on the fact that we can't sustain this effort. That's right. They're counting on the fact that, honestly, that we can't get over our individual logos and get over our individual egos and actually come together and make something happen. We have to be very, very real with ourselves. We're 13% of the population as African Americans. 13% of the population. We don't have room for division. We don't have the luxury to have individual separate efforts. We have to come together. I thank you guys for this conversation, but there definitely is a part two, and just know that Howard University is ready to be part of that part two. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leighton Watson, Howard University Student Association. I'm going to call now on Nana Dr. Pat Newton from the Black Psychiatrists of America. Nana, can you make it up here? Thank you.
Hotep, brothers and sisters. I want to thank Dr. Daniels and IBW, and we want to say that the Black Psychiatrist stands on the vanguard of the immediate and the long-term healing. There are damages that are going to be well into centuries after this Ferguson experience. And let us not forget, as one of the council people said, we got to be in this for the long haul. The Black psychiatrists believe that police should be screened before they're ever hired. And they have to have screening that also includes cultural sensitivity and cultural diversity, not just a little jive psychological test. But we have to also make sure that we put the kind of men and women behind that badge who will serve us well and serve us in terms of adequate, in terms of compassion, and in terms of caring for our people. So we want to recommend that our relationship is not over because we have post-traumatic and acute traumatic stress as a result of what has happened. And these children are going to be damaged for centuries. And the next generations, and we already just got the data about how trauma affects people into future generations. So we're looking at talking about civil issues related to not just the criminal side, but what you're going to do to defend and bring community effort and money and economic resources from both the federal and state level to make sure that they get treated. And so we want to partner with the Black Police Association to make sure we develop the kind of tools that are needed to save our people and stop this from reoccurring. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. Dr. Pat Newton. Let me just say very quickly that the Black Psychiatrists of America is one of 23 national organizations that comprise the Black Family Summit, which is a grouping that IBW, Institute of the Black World, has pulled together. For more information on the Black Family Summit, please visit our website, ibw21.org. Thank you, Nana Pat. I'm now going to call on Brother Salim Adolfo of the National Black United Front. Brother Salim.
Thank you. First, I want to say Black Power, and that this issue right here on the ground is an issue of reparations. The police killings is another reason why people of African descent are owed reparations. And we know that justice is not going to take place in the voting booth. Justice is going to take place in the streets and the combination of the voting booth. So with that being said, we're going into 8th Street this Saturday to shut down 8th Street. If there's not going to be no justice, then they won't have no damn economic peace. If we can't get no justice, they won't have no economic peace. Last week, we shut down Chinatown. This week, Saturday, August 30th, we're going to meet at Union Station, 7 o'clock. We're going into 8th Street and shut 8th Street down. If we can't get no justice, there won't be no economic peace. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, brother. Brother Salim Adolfo of the National Black United Front. I'd like to call on Brother Malik Burnett of the Drug Policy Alliance.
Thanks so much for having me. My name is Dr. Malik Burnett. I'm a medical doctor, and I'm a policy manager here in the Office of National Affairs at the Drug Policy Alliance, the nation's leading drug policy organization. And I wanted to offer something. My good friend Nkechi offered an idea to think outside the box. Well, this is definitely an outside the box idea. So this November 4th, we have the opportunity to legalize marijuana in the District of Columbia. Marijuana is the major input to the system of mass incarceration across the United States. Here in D.C., 91% of African Americans are, 91% of drug arrests are of African Americans, and 50% of all drug arrests are of marijuana. So first, you got to register to vote. It's critical that everybody registers to vote in the District of Columbia. And then secondly, you have to vote yes on Initiative 71. Again, vote yes on Initiative 71 on November 4th. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Next, I'm going to call on Reverend Graylin Hagler from the Plymouth Congregational Church here in Washington, D.C.
Thank you. I want to thank the panel, which you did all a tremendous job in terms of breaking down the issue. I think that one of the things, though, that I want to lift up is as we talk about the militarization of police forces, we need to talk about also the training that goes into the police forces, that you have foreign governments training police departments on how to occupy communities. Now, let's be clear about that. That's what's going on. When the IDF, and your brother Jasiri X was with me in Palestine in January, and so he knows that there is this training that goes on with every single police department in America on how to occupy, how to make your presence known, which is to brutalize a community in order to keep a community contained. So when we talk about demilitarization, we need to talk about also home growing those who can go on the police force. In D.C. and other jurisdictions, in D.C. you gotta have 2 years of education to be able to qualify to go on a police department. You can't come out of high school and apply for the police department, but you can go to the military with just a high school diploma, and by coming out of the military, you can go on the Metropolitan Police Department. Does that make sense? When we got 40% unemployment in housing projects, we need to open up those opportunities so that women and men can go on and serve their cities in the community in which they grew up in, and therefore there won't be this fear that permeates the police department when they come into a community and occupy it and are scared of their residents.
Thank you, Reverend Hagler. I'm going to also now move on to our final two respondents. Let me see here. Reverend Dr. Joseph Evans of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church.
Thank you, thank you. First of all, give it up for IBW. Come on, somebody, give it up. The most significant, on-the-edge organization that has brought us together is IBW. And if you're outside, still outside, please join it, IBW21.org. Now, I want to just simply say this. There is a combination between race, economics, and politics. That's not me, that's W.E.B. Du Bois. And it continues even today. And we're talking about Ferguson and the physical act of murder, but I want you to know something. They are still lynching black men today. And one of the most significant places you can go is the nation's capital, because the current mayor has not been indicted for anything. No charges have been put against him, but it was a banana republic election because gentrification is real in Washington. And if you can get that brother out the way, let me tell you, all the dominoes will fall. So make sure you understand. I'm not talking about politics now. I'm talking about a black man who's been lynched simply because he's a black man in charge. And they're going to get rid of every one of them so that this city will no longer be a majority black people. Wake up, D.C. It's going on right in...
Kareem from STEM for Us and the Tech Law Group. Is he...
I'm right here. Thank you, brother. First of all, Brother Don Rojas, I want to give it up to you because you've been one of our mentors in the technology and science space for the past 20 years. So I really want to... We had an extensive conversation about a week ago right after the tragedy. And one of the things we've happened time and time again. One of the things we particularly pointed out is that because black men in particular are stereotyped by the media every day, it's stated that a child has seen, particularly in the black community, an ad of the Don, is we challenged Comcast and Yahoo and Google, because they're now owning and distributing content. We challenged them to put together a fund. We believe that there needs to be at least a $3 trillion fund. No more should we only see black people as villains, but we should see beautiful brown and black and red and yellow people being scientists and technologists and physicians and mathematicians. And so that's what we're challenging all Pepco Gallery. For more information, go and visit STEM, the number 4US.org. That's STEMforus.org. And again, I salute you for all the great work that you continue to do there, brother.
Thank you so much, Brother Talib Kareem. Is Minister Abdul Qadir Mohammed of the Nation of Islam? Can you come up to the microphone? Are you? And after Brother Minister Abdul Mohammed, I'm going to call on Dr. Marsha Coleman Adebayo.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Ryan Daniels for allowing us to come here and gather today at Busboys and Poets. And to get right to the point, I want to thank this panel who brought to us a very, very welcome and a great discussion. What you think? Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah now. Basically, the young people today have spoken. We need more like Brother Jasiriax. We need more that's in the streets. And the one thing I think that we left out, and that is to stop the black-on-black crime among the young brothers in the streets. If we can take the leadership up into some of these projects and get them to stop shooting each other every single night, then I do know the plan. The plan is that they're going to try to come in with the National Guard, and once we stop killing each other, then it's automatically wipe out the black community. So let's unite together. Let's stand together and let us work together as one common cause, make sure our people are free and doing the right thing to help us in this great nation. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Brother Minister. Sister Dr. Marsha Coleman Adebayo. By the way, this is the sister who organized the protests at the Department of Justice today. Give it up for her.
Hands up. Hands up. Don't shoot. Thank you so much. I want to thank Dr. Daniels and this incredible panel. It was an incredibly enlightening panel. And I also want to thank everyone who participated in the demonstration today. We took it to the street today. We took it to the street today, and we're going to take it back to the street today, tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And also, by the way, we have made it very difficult for the Attorney General to say that he doesn't understand our demands, because we forced the Department of Justice to bring down one of their officials from the AJ's office to receive our petitions today. And so what he is wrestling with today, I'd like to just give you 3 of our demands before I sit down. 1 demand, the immediate arrest and prosecution of police officer Darren Wilson. We want it now. We're not going to negotiate this point. We also want the end of mass incarceration of boys and men of color and to release those. And let me tell you, this is very important. It's not just stopping mass incarceration. We want our sons and our brothers and our husbands to come home who are in jail right now. And that is not negotiable. And we also want all military personnel and equipment withdrawn from our communities. So we ask all of you to please come out, support us in front of the Department of Justice, and let's bring down this government. If it doesn't support us, then we're not going to support the government. We need to bring this thing down. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Before we bring on Dr. Daniels to wrap up the... Oh, yes. Brother Andy Shalal. Oh, look at this. Oh.
We're opening the program and closing the program with a Gregory. Yeah. Hello, everyone. We're about ready to wrap up the program. Since we opened the program with Ayanna Gregory, it's only fitting that we close the program with a father, Dick Gregory. Come on up.
Thank you, thank you. Let me say, thank you all for being here. And I wonder how long are you going to have to look at what you're looking at before you see reality. Ferguson, those of you all that know me know I'm from St. Louis, and I've been saying for 50 years, when you go to St. Louis, sit your watch back 3 hours. And I cannot believe that you looked at what you looked at and really didn't see it. The cop that said, "I'll shoot you," in front of the cameras.
Well,
don't be so stupid, because you used to. No cop is going to say that in front of the camera unless he's under mind control. And that's what you was watching. 4 blocks away, the whole world watching, and 2 white cops kill a black man with a knife, and you think you looking at something, all that's planned. Okay? That's what it's about. All that's planned. And if you look at the most important thing, even more so than the killing, they left him there 4.5 hours. Now listen to me, stop being emotional. If we and our cops and somebody killed 3 children and we run over there and they pull out and we kill them, we have to go in, turn our gun in, take a drug test, and an alcohol test. That's why he disappeared for 3 days.
right. True.
Okay?
True.
That's why. So y'all get caught up in some bullshit emotion, and you don't see, and they put it right in front of your face. Right in front of your face. Then the cop came out, police chief, and said, "Wait a minute, we have a video here of him in the convenience store. And he was armed robbery. He didn't have a gun. So even if it was the truth, he didn't have a gun. That's shoplifting.
Right.
But every now and then, they get dumber than what the... They released the video. Did y'all see that? And you should feel ashamed when I tell you what you looked at. He had on Nikes, huh? White socks, huh? When he's laying down on the ground, he got flip-flops on, huh? See what happened when you get so emotional, huh? And then when we examined that, a friend of mine called me from London, said, you better look at the picture. It was dated June the 6th. Huh? How many of y'all know that? June. He didn't get killed till August the 9th. Y'all be better off cutting your damn TV off and going to bed. Because what they show you, huh? What they show you, they showing you that for a reason. Now watch this. If a cop call in that he just had a shootout, huh? The folks downtown don't know if he's been kidnapped, and they send every cop car within a 50-mile radius. You didn't see no cop cars, huh? He laid there for 4.5 hours, and you didn't see one cop car pull up. And that don't bother you? Huh? And then all at once, we had a Kent State all over again. The provocateurs, no, we're talking about Kent State. You keep wanting to go get something black, huh? You don't count. It counted when it was Kent State. And then we can go in and do the right investigation. And what happened in Kent State, the National Guard was there. One of the students in the crowd shot at the National Guard. The students chased him. He went right to the National Guard, and of course, he was National Guard, and they spent almost $50 million in lawsuits. Huh? $50 million in lawsuits paying off. So you think you see it, and you don't see it. The press is sitting there talking. The press. Not one person on the press talked about how could he lay there for 4 hours.
Right.
The mother came up. They wouldn't let her see it. Huh?
Right.
Then, how many of y'all are aware that 4.5 hours they took him away in a black SUV?
Right.
With no markings on it.
Right.
And then we check it, the police department have no records for that car. Where did they take him? Huh? Where did they take him? Huh? That's what you looked at and you didn't see it because the press, they're not as stupid as you think they are. They tell you what you're supposed to see.
Right.
Huh? And so somewhere when we sit and look at this, and then I'm on the radio all over the country, all over, and they telling me a rebellion. Y'all the biggest fool. A rebellion is something you plan. You pick the time in the day. A rebellion ain't something you wait till a cop shoot a black man and then you're going to read. That's a ride. Huh? But y'all get so embarrassed, it's a ride. In 1968, when them cops beat up them white children in Lincoln Park, they called it a police ride, not a rebellion. Y'all always trying to cover yourself because somebody is going to embarrass. Who cares?
Right.
Huh? You have never seen a cop put a chokehold on a mafia or a drug pusher or a pimp or a hoe. Huh? So why you get all embarrassed? Huh? This is a game. And they're getting serious now. When you saw them tanks, that tear gas, some of y'all know, that's been outlawed.
Right.
United Nations for wartime.
That's right. That's right.
Y'all better wake up and see what they're doing. And you don't have to. Hmm?
Yes.
Somewhere, just go back and sit quietly. Huh? And review what you looked at, because it was there. Hmm? It was there. He had a friend with him. Huh? Hmm? Where is he? Where's the friend that was with him? Huh? You cops is in here, some of you come because you want to learn, some of it's your job tonight to be here. You know, if I'm a cop and I'm chasing you and this is your partner, what make me think y'all ain't together? Why I'm assassinate him and not assassinate you? Why did I leave the witness? Huh? And where is he now? He's under FBI witness protection. What do he know? And so tonight, if you just leave here and get into your, and you see things that they showed you, because they know you wouldn't see it. Somewhere, a big old bag of money came in there from this town. Huh? Where you think Mom and Pop got that money to hire forensics and all that? Huh? The town has 50% unemployment, 70% black. Huh? Everything that count is white. Police department got 50 people on it, and 3 of them are black, and 2 of them are women. And they're getting ready to shut it down. How many of y'all read the Icy paper?
What are you saying? Oh.
What did I say the name of is what? And now the biggest, baddest, blackest terrorist in the history of the planet is named what? Huh?
ISIS.
Out of all the crap that's going on this planet, here's some little punk that nobody know where he come from with billions of dollars. And his name is the same as what the sister named her book. Y'all don't see that? Huh? Somewhere. And so I just say thanks to the brother for always opening up for us here. Always opening up for us here. And somewhere I say to you, I've watched this. I know more about it than anybody. I had people from Britain, cops calling me, say, well, you think this is? You know what it is. You know where it is. The day they stole the plane, I knew it was in Garcia. They knew I knew. Can't no damn plane disappear. I tell white folk, that's why black folk ride Greyhound. Greyhound bus ain't never disappeared. Never disappeared. And so I leave you tonight and just say thank you. Thank you. Thank you, and my brother always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Dick Gregory. Thank you, Brother Dick. Good to see you. Sisters and brothers, it's been a long evening. Thanks for your patience, but we're going to wrap it up now with final remarks by Dr. Ron Daniels, President of the Institute of the Black World, 21st Century. Brother Ron.
How's everybody doing? Is everybody all right? We in a fighting mood? We ready to resist? Y'all don't sound like it. You ready to resist? That's what we're talking about. Well, first of all, let's give it up again for Andy Shalal and Busboys and Poets, WPFW, IPS. Let's give it up. Now, we want you to just wait a few minutes. We're almost done. I want to say a bit about us working together, because the brother from Howard University spoke to that, right?
Yes, he did.
And let me just say this. We're all here on this panel.
Yes.
We do not belong to the same organization, but we do all work together.
That's right.
There's a concept called operational unity.
That's right.
That is to say, we don't have to give up our individual organizational identities in order for us to, in fact, work together in collaboration. And in fact, this is one of the things that IBW, one of the things that I'm doing specifically. I used to say at the autumn of my advocacy, it's now wintertime. That's the focus. It's building on collaboration so that we all can share knowledge with each other and work together. So the brother from Howard University is absolutely right. But that doesn't mean we have to all do the same thing.
That's right.
Different people can take different pieces of it. We got Hillary Shelton right there in the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. I mean, I'm not fund, Washington office. You talk about understanding what's happening with legislation. Those two right there, they got our back. No question about it. You come to Voting Rights Act, all the stuff about voter suppression. You hear that Sister Barbara Arnn right there, that warrior woman, she has our back. So we need to just figure out how we speak to each other and communicate with each other in a more effective way. The Civil Rights Organization has put out an agenda. I'm sure we agree with with everything in that agenda. So we just all need to coordinate together in that regard. Because in that final analysis, anger without an agenda and organization is futile. Kwame Ture said many, many years ago what? The people must be organized.
Yes.
Over and over again, he said the people must be organized. So we must end the disconnectedness, the disorganization in black communities as well. And that's one of the things that we do with the Institute of the Black World 21st Century. We have justice collaboratives. Right here in Washington, D.C., we have organizations that meets at his church every 3 months, organizations that come together to talk about how do we collaborate. Some of them are here. They haven't given up any identity, but we figure out how can we work together to be more strategic and focused and moving forward. We need justice collaboratives or similar structures all over this country. We got Philadelphia. We're working in Pittsburgh. Jerry knows that. We're working hard to try to do Baltimore. We need these justice collaboratives because we must be organized. And Sister Nana Pat is a part of the Black Family Summit. These are African-centered black professional organizations. Psychiatrists, social workers, they have not sold out for a paycheck. They're here to work in our communities, and they do that work. I was reading the article. The psychologists are on the ground right now, and we have to respect them, connect with them, and work with them. The next point I want to make is we have to use every tool at our disposal. We know that we have to have an inside-outside strategy because Brother Hillary and them are talking about this legislation, but sometimes they don't listen to us. Maybe we have to do like the Dream Defenders did down in Florida. Yes. Maybe we may have to go and march on Capitol and sit down and sit in until they pass the legislation that we need. We need to get ungovernable. We've been too tame. Too much Novocaine in our movement. Let's march on Capitol Hill and sit there. Because the reality is we got some right-wing reactionaries, the Tea Party, who could care less about us unless we force them to understand what we're about. So we got to be able to do that. Civil disobedience. And let me just say this. We have $1.2 trillion in our hands. We need to use economic sanctions. We need to use boycotts. Yes. They talked about that in Ferguson, where the stores and all these shops and very often are owned by people other than us. That's not an indictment, but they certainly ought to be contributing something to us. If they can't contribute something to us, then they need to be out of our community. Well. And I'm going to make this point with Trayvon Martin. We're just a little organization. We're not, all the talking heads. We don't get them opportunities. We said with Trayvon Martin, we needed to let Mickey and Minnie play with themselves for a change. We needed to have an economic sanctions campaign. If you want to go up against the Koch brothers, we could have went up against the Koch brothers. How to do that? We spend billions of dollars in Florida in terms of the hospitality industry. All we had to do, Fort Lauderdale alone, the money we spent. Orange juice. And again, Mickey and Minnie. We can withdraw from Mickey, let them play with themselves for a while. If we had done that, they would have changed the Stand Your Ground law. And we would have went up against one of the most powerful forces in this country, the Koch brothers. We can defeat the Koch brothers because the people united will never be defeated. But we have to be organized. And I got to say this, I'm going to say it. No national civil rights leader would call for the economic sanctions campaign. This is just little old us. The people on the streets were ready for the economic sanctions campaign. But we could not get any, nobody called for it. And we wonder why. Maybe it's because, you look up at these conferences and conventions and the sponsorships are coming from all these corporations. All these corporations. And these are my friends. I love them. They're great people. But at a certain point, The economic benefits from this chump change these people are giving us is not worth taking the fire out of our movement. We need to be on the aggressive movement in terms of economic sanctions as well.
That's right.
Finally, and Jaziri X has spoken to it, and I came here tonight to stress this point.
Well,
it is time for young leaders to take the lead.
Yes.
Young leaders must take the lead on this issue. And I say that because it's a matter of principle. Those who are being most affected, those who are being stopped and frisked and shot down in the streets and harassed are mostly young people. And since they're the ones who are being affected, they should be at the center and in the lead. And so I'm saying that, you know, I'm a lifetime member of the NAACP. I support the Urban League and a number of other organizations. And I don't want to see them, they're on the case. Believe me, I'm saying this constructively. Without them, we would not be where we are today. But there also comes a time when maybe they should step aside a little bit, move over, and yet these young leaders take the lead. The December 12th movement out of New York has called for a gathering in October. I don't know whether that can happen or not, but the theme from the night should be young leaders must take the lead. Reverend Sharpton, I understand, is contemplating a march on another march on Washington. And Reverend Sharpton does some really, really great things. Maybe we need 2 marches. But for sure, whether it's a gathering or a march, we need one that is exclusively led by young people. Young people must take the lead. Young people must take the lead, and we must support them in that. Now, I'm just going to make this point as an example. At the historic March on Washington commemoration, there's a brother, you've seen him, his name is Philip Agnew, with the Dream Defenders. Now, he got up to speak, and a lot of people's microphones were being cut off. I'm sure it was accidental, but how is it that the most powerful movement, one of them, 2 movements, Moral Monday and the Dream Defenders, how do they end up not being allocated sufficient time to get their point across? How is it that Philip Agnew, didn't get a chance to talk? Right. Well, it was accidental, probably. But if you have a young leaders-led march, that would never happen because we need to stand back. We need to step aside. We need to move over. Let them speak. Let them organize. Let us counsel. Let us advise.
Thank you, Ron.
And so Philip Agnew and the Dream Defenders step up. We ain't got to worry about Jaziri X. He's already stepping up. Harry Belafonte has mentored hundreds of young leaders who are ready to move forward. Yes. The Hip Hop Caucus, Rosa Clemente, y'all know her, she's out there. The Malcolm X grassroots movement, Students Against Mass Incarceration, Dr. Goddess, Salim Al-Dafu is right here in front of us, Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, Shani Jamila, the Algebra Project. We got a group in New York called the ISMS Group, the Conscious Ones. And yes, the Howard University Government Association is in the house, and they're organizing students all over the country. So let the word go out. Move over. Step aside, Reverend Sharpton and other civil rights leaders. Let the young people take the lead. Young people must take the lead. I close with this quote from Malcolm X. We declare our right on this earth to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring to existence by any means necessary. We say freedom by what? Any means necessary. Freedom. 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 I can't hear you. Freedom. Let's get it done.
All right, Brother Ron Daniels, longtime warrior in the struggle for justice and freedom for our people, not only here in the U.S., but around the world. Sisters and brothers, we've come to the end of our program. We want to thank you all for attending, for being patient, for listening, and for participating. Give yourselves a round of applause. We want to thank the people outside, too. All right, there are dozens of folks outside on the sidewalk who've been patient listening to us. And finally, if you would like to, if we like to view this again, and for those who were not able to catch it tonight, this entire program will be archived on the IBW website in the next day or two. So please visit us at www.ibw21.org. As we used to say in the Grenada Revolution, sisters and brothers, forward ever, backward never. Thank you.